Entertainment companies are willing to revise history if it means making new content that might get views, and we've seen a mini-series where Anne Boleyn was race-swapped, a play where Joan of Arc was portrayed as non-binary and questioning the gender binary, and now Netflix has announced a docu-series that race-swaps Cleopatra, and it is getting absolutely obliterated. I have a few different things to show off, but before we get into the topic, if you enjoy the content that I create, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. Follow me on social media like Twitter or mine so that you can see when my content is posted. And of course, if you do really enjoy the videos and the live streams that I create, please consider becoming a Dark Titan via Patreon or a supporter via YouTube memberships. So I wanted to start off with this Bounding into Comics article, and then we are going to go to the trailer on YouTube. Netflix's upcoming Queen Cleopatra docuseries to race swap the historical Egyptian ruler. She is a queen who many know about, but not in her truth. No longer content with overwriting the source material of various comic books, video games, novels, and anime, Netflix has now turned its identity politics attention towards real-world history, as the streaming service has announced that their upcoming docuseries Queen Cleopatra will not only race-swap the eponymous ruler, but also argue that her having black skin is historically accurate. Now, I have had to talk about some situations like this, like I mentioned with Anne Boleyn. They decided to race swap her in a mini-series, but there was a bit of a difference because that wasn't supposed to be a direct retelling of her past. It was supposed to be more of a, dramatization of her life for entertainment purposes, but this is straight up a docu-series, okay? They have like researchers that are part of this that are talking about her past and, who she really was. So they are trying to pass this off as fact when of course it is not. It says that starring Adele James as the Queen of the Nile herself, the 4-episode long second entry in executive producer Jada Pinkett Smith's Netflix documentary series African Queen will focus on Cleopatra, the world's most famous, powerful, and misunderstood woman. I think it is hilarious that Netflix has Jada Pinkett Smith on this, that she is an executive producer, because this to me just screams Jada Pinkett Smith. She is constantly looking for attention, and she doesn't care if it is positive or negative, and she knew that this was most likely going to face massive amounts of backlash, and she is still part of it anyway. Now, heading on over to the trailer itself, oof, people are destroying them on this. It is currently sitting at 1.1 million views in 2 days. It's not trending on YouTube. Womp womp, too bad for them, but it is sitting at 17,000 likes to 145,000 dislikes. I mean, people are obviously very upset with this. I typically do like watching docu-series on anyone, really, but this is just one that I am most certainly not going to watch, and I am going to skip. And it's kind of funny, and a lot of people are calling them out, because they are trying to pass Cleopatra being black off because of artwork. That is actually where this whole entire theory started, is there were, paintings and art during the Renaissance that portrayed Cleopatra as having, a black skin tone. But she, of course, was Greek. She ruled over Egypt, but she was Greek. She was not a black woman. And of course, people are just calling Netflix out saying, you guys really need to go back to school. There are nearly 13,000 comments, and none of them here are positive. As an Egyptian, I consider this cultural appropriation extremely offensive. I know I sound like a Twitter user, but holy shit, this is getting ridiculous. First, the Afrocentrics are insisting Egyptians are black and the current residents of Egypt are occupiers, and now Cleopatra, a Greek woman, is portrayed as black. Stop trying to steal our history. You can't really change our history with this series. Netflix needs history lessons. The minute I saw executive producer Jada Pinkett Smith, I just rolled my eyes. Everyone knows she writes her own history. Yeah, I do not like Jada Pinkett Smith. She is a drama queen. She is always looking for attention, and this to her was probably a gold mine of an opportunity, because she was probably going, yeah, even though it'll be negative, oof, people are going to be paying attention to me for a little while. Love that they left out the fact that her name is Greek. It comes from the Greek meaning glory of the father, derived from the meaning glory combined with the meaning father. But that would be too inconvenient to the makers of this work to point that out, because they would have had to mention that Cleopatra's family were Greek. Yeah, I mean, just from seeing these trailers that they've released and some of the information that they've released alongside it, it does seem like they are leaving out a lot of facts in order to tell the story that they want to tell, which that's all that it is a fictional story, because this isn't who Cleopatra actually was. And like I mentioned, this has happened a couple of times, most notably with Anne Boleyn. Let's head on over to Rotten Tomatoes and see how that went. Well, not very good, because the critics gave it a 50% and the audience score is a measly 7%. I don't see this Queen Cleopatra series going that well either. I think it's going to be right around the same number. And like I mentioned, Joan of Arc to be portrayed as non-binary and questioning the gender binary in new play I, Joan. It's not enough to these companies that they're changing comic book characters, video games. They are taking all of our beloved fictional characters and messing around with them. Now they have to go and screw around with historical figures, and these are just a handful of the ones that we have seen taken and twisted over the past couple of years. This one said the continuing march of modern-day critical gender theory has claimed yet another victim. This time as a new play from Shakespeare's London Globe Theatre is set to portray historical French icon Saint Joan of Arc as a non-binary individual who finds her strength by questioning the gender binary. These are just disgusting situations to have to talk about. Again, it is one thing to take fictional characters and fuck around with them, but taking historical figures and putting out things labeled docuseries and trying to pass the contents of these series off as the truth is just terrible. I do think that this Queen Cleopatra situation is going to get much worse before it gets better for Netflix. I mean, 17k likes, 145k dislikes is only the beginning. I think that when this finally releases, people are going to revolt over this. Social media is going to explode with discussion about this. But yeah, this is what Netflix is doing. This is what Netflix thought would be a good idea, is to race swap the historical Egyptian ruler Cleopatra. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed this and found it important and informative, please make sure to give it a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel. And of course, if you didn't, make sure to give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I will talk to you all again in the next video really soon.